Hello, welcome to Conversations with the Mayor. I'm Sarah Hayden, and I'm here with Mayor Donna Holaday, and we're getting this to be a regular thing, which is great. Thank you for taking the time to come into the studio and speak with me today.
Oh, my pleasure. Always a pleasure, Sarah.
Thank you. I had gotten word from the Lieutenant Governor's office, actually it was from the Governor's office, that the Lieutenant Governor was coming to sign something called a Community Compact Agreement, I guess it is, with you, which I have seen the pictures. I didn't get there in person to look at it, but they actually have little videos too about it if you want to take a look at those. So maybe, I didn't know anything about this. I think you had mentioned it in one of our shows previously.
I think I had just started attending some of the focus groups as they were rolling out this initiative.
And it sounded interesting, and now maybe you can tell us a little bit more about it now that the community is involved with this and what its purpose is.
Well, the governor and lieutenant governor really felt that they wanted to develop real strong partnerships with municipalities. And with 351 of them, that's, I think, a pretty laudable task. And so they decided that the best way to help was to bring community leaders together and to identify areas of best practice. And so that sets the bar of where you should be in terms of finance, whether it's school finance or just overall financing, in terms of housing, economic development, public safety, IT. There was probably 7-8 different areas that you could identify what you believed as a community leader you could make some improvement. There was room for definitely to get to a best practice level. And the state, in turn, for you working with your teams and identifying what areas you wanted to work on, they in turn made agreements that they would not push forth any unfunded mandates, that they would support and local aid, and so they come through. And the compact that we signed was uploaded onto the city website yesterday. So if people want to look at it, they can take a look at what we have agreed to. And we have 2 years to achieve our end goal, and we receive $5,000, I think, if it's kept in the budget, which is being reviewed by the governor right now. Should be signed, I think, shortly. Would get $5,000 just for signing on. We are the 6th community to sign, and you also get bonus points for any state grants you apply for.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so like the Mass Work Grant program is coming up soon, and we will get, I think, 3 or 4 extra points just by being a community compact community. So we decided, I brought a group of people together, department heads, and we sat and we looked at the best practice areas and decided that there were a lot that we could do, but I got a call from Lieutenant Governor and said we'd really like Newburyport, since you were part of the focus group, to be one of the first to sign on. So we had to kind of scramble to, figure out what we wanted to do. So we picked capital budget financing because we have a beautiful capital budget. If you look at our budgets included in that, pictures, we have a 5-year plan, we upgraded by April 1st every year. It gets incorporated into the budget. We fund what we can, but it's always just sort of, well, we got grants for this, we didn't get a grant for that, we can't do that this year, let's push it out, especially this year with the cost of snow and ice that just killed us in terms of any extra cash we had. So we thought we could use some guidance from Department of Revenue and Sean Cronin, who is overseeing, I think he's a deputy commissioner there now, and comes out of Brookline, so he has a real strong municipal background. So he will be working with us on that. And the other is that even though the school budget has made steady progress year after year in becoming more transparent, and but it needs to be true cost centers. If you look at and compare what the school budget looks like to its format to the city, it's night and day. I mean, I could call our finance director and say, print me year-to-date expenditures in city side, and he could print it out. I could match it up to the budget we passed, the account numbers, and I could look at what we spent last year. I can't do that in the schools.
Oh.
They're just, it's just not set up that way, and they have different reporting requirements to the state.
I see.
So we've got to figure that out and get to a point where we know what we spent over the last 2 years on this line item for personnel in the schools and what we're spending this year. We need really
helpful.
true costs so that.
What do they group stuff together?
Well, it's based on what they need. So, for example, you'd have Bresnahan budget this year, and you'd have X amount of teachers in first, second, third grade, and then you multiply that out per what it costs, what those salaries are, and that gives you what your personnel line item is. But that doesn't tell me what we spent last year. That doesn't tell me, our teachers moving up and down. We just need a better handle on costs.
Now, when you did the focus groups, was that to help? Are there best practices that the governor's office has that they're looking? So these best practices have been developed.
Yes.
You pick, and then you meet an expectation that they have set, and so as this is happening, are they hopeful that, let's say you learn how the school gets their budget changed and it's working well and you meet that best practice, this is something that they can hopefully take to other places. I see. So that the state's more uniform in how it's operating? Not
necessarily uniform, but if you have an area that you excel in and have developed a good system, why not share it?
Right, and you mentioned the mandates and things like that. That I recall you mentioning before when you have mandates but you can't meet them because of either your budget or some other issue that's going on, then you're not fulfilling the expectation of the state. And
the stormwater is a perfect example of that. We're now on its fourth tier, and every tier you had to meet certain standards as a community, and this is federal guidelines, and it's unbelievable what we I think identified $500,000 just in some basic equipment we would need even to start to meet that level 4.
I see.
And so that's a perfect example of an unfunded mandate. I think another one is the fingerprint printing that's now required of all teachers.
Okay, so they say this is what you're going to do, and you
have to pay for it.
You have to pay for it, and you have to implement.
And you have to go to this one company who has the contract for fingerprinting all the teachers and
that doesn't sound right.
Instructional staff, and you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah. Well, and off subject, but it's crazy to have one company. That seems something's wrong with that.
But I also think, so what are you going to...
Why?
What's wrong with Corey and Sori checks? What is that going to do as a result of having a set of fingerprints? I don't understand.
So,
and I refuse. I'm serious. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. So
as chair of the school committee, I'm supposed to do this. I'm not doing it.
And so, if can this come up in some of the best practices that actually isn't going to work across the state?
Well, it probably wouldn't through that, but I think that the auditor's office is very interested in these unfunded mandates.
Yeah. So. Well, there's a couple of the other unfunded mandates. Can you think of them?
You look at all the things that are happening in the schools. The introduction of a new teacher evaluation, which required
huge amount of time.
It probably quadrupled the amount of time that teachers are spending now. Not to say that this isn't an important practice, that teachers and administrators all need to be evaluated, but it's just really time consuming. And now that we've been able to purchase some software equipment that should help us load up and have these things all online, will make it a little bit easier, but it's very time consuming, and I consider that an unfunded mandate.
And so when you don't when you're not able to comply with an unfunded mandate, what happens?
Well, I don't think we've ever not complied.
I see. All right, so we don't know what will happen. Well, we might find out what will happen.
Especially because we get so little money in terms of Chapter 70 funding from the state for our schools. So, could they, what else could they do to us?
Right.
I don't know.
So, along with this community compact, I watched the pictures, and you had this big check you were signing for $5 million, and I was curious what that's for.
Oh, this has been very exciting. It's been a long process in terms of advocating for that money. I think everybody knows that our community takes a long time to
Does it now?
to try and figure things out. Well, what did Olga McFarland, who I miss terribly, she passed a few weeks ago, and I'm so sad because
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And she was the champion of our senior community center.
I know.
And
She kept me informed on how we were doing
and
here.
she's not going to be here for the ribbon cutting, which will be the end of September. But she was the one who told me.
That's really depressing. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I thought you knew.
No, when I checked the paper,
Beautiful.
Rats.
Her daughter Martha wrote a beautiful obit.
I'm gonna have to look it up. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear. I missed that. Okay.
Sorry, Sarah. I know.
She was very
I know.
great, a
I know.
champion to a lot of causes.
I
And
know.
I'm sorry
I
she's
know.
not going to see the opening.
So am I. But she was one that told me when we were doing the groundbreaking for the Senior Community Center that it had been since 1965 that Newburyport had been trying to site and open build a community center, a senior center, and since the passage of the Older Americans Act, and look where we are, 2015.
That's a lot of years.
Right. How many studies did we do on paid parking?
Gosh.
I know. So anyway, and how many studies did we do on the schools? I mean, so it just takes us a while to sort of, get to the finish line, if you will. So,
unfortunately, I do think there's a lot of opportunities that get lost along the way, and then you lose
and then
momentum.
costs get higher.
And people move away, and then you get a new bunch you have to educate and get on board, and then
you do new
people-
studies and spend more money.
It's just really,
I know. Well, anyway,
yeah.
hopefully this is the end of the garage debate, because at one point we did have, I think, over $7 million between federal and state money, and then that's an earmarks went away, and we had to start all over again. But this particular project has been in the works with former Mayor John Moak, and he started working with the Merrimack Valley Regional Transit Authority because they're called intermodal facilities, because if you involve public transportation, you end up being able to tap into some federal dollars.
I see.
So we have $2 to $2.5 million in federal dollars, and now with this $5 million from the state, we are well on our way to being able to make this happen finally for our community, because and that's what the check was.
That's great.
Mike Costello, our former state rep, and our Senator Ives, they put the $5 million into the transportation bond bill. But bond bills are nothing. They're aspirational. They don't mean anything. You have to get the money out of the bond bill into a true account somewhere that it can actually be used or funded. And so from there, I advocated to get it into the former governor's capital plan, and then from there it was moved into Mass DOT's, Department of Transportation's capital plan.
Jeez.
And I got the go-ahead in the end of October that we could move forward on this and hire the OPM owner's project manager, which you need for any project over $1 million. You have to have an OPM in the state, and designer. So we started that process. We hired people, and then we were frozen. We couldn't do anything because we needed to have the $5 million to move forward. So I just kept talking to the governor, lieutenant governor, sending letters. We'd have secretaries come to our mayor's meeting, Secretary of Transportation. I'd give her and her aides packets. I just kept at it. And then even during the review of the capital projects, Lieutenant Governor called me and said, "I need more." So, really focused, which it is, around the need for the economic development of downtown. Now, this administration is really about economic development, and even the Seaport Advisory Council is now going to be the Seaport Economic Council. So they're really focused on, this economic push and build and supporting communities in this way. And with the 4 new restaurants opening and wanting to expand the park down on the waterfront, it has always been an understanding that we can't really do much until we can move the cars into a garage. So there's always been conversation about that. In fact, there were actual formal memorandums of understanding with the city and the NRA for years regarding that would be the process. So, anyway, so here we are.
Is there a spot, or is that something that they
Oh,
do?
no, we had voted 5 years ago.
I remember it was something on the corner
It was
over where they port paper in the port. No,
no
Pretty in
fitness.
the port.
No,
Oh,
Fitness Factory.
ah.
Yeah, Fuel Now.
Well, I was close.
Yeah, it was in the right vicinity. Because it was sort of debated whether or not New England Development would build the hotel there or the garage, and I'm glad they moved the hotel across the street because it's a much better site for the garage there. And so we have a lot of work to do in terms of the the finances and working on all the agreements. But at this juncture, New England Development, who owns that land, because we have to have site control, is going to give us that land, which is valued at $2.2 million, in exchange for spaces in the garage.
And where is that exactly? That land? Where you?
The Fitness Factory.
Oh, which is currently Fuel. I see. I thought, okay.
Yeah, okay, so that building will come down.
I gotcha.
And that's where we'll build the
Okay.
garage. But we need to have, as I said, site control. So
Yeah.
New England Development will give us the property in exchange for spaces in the permanent
Yep.
spaces in the garage. So right now it's around 90, and we're looking at hopefully 320 in terms of spaces. But we have a lot of work to do. Now that people are saying, well, we don't know anything about it. I said, well, because there isn't much to tell at this point, because we've just been trying to advocate for, where it's going to be, to be sure the site can move forward.
And how does it involve the other transportation or?
Well, the bus that comes through town.
Okay.
We'll have a ticket booth there, and
I see.
then you can buy your tickets and then hop on the bus and.
Well, that's actually very helpful.
Right, and I'm hoping that the summer shuttle we started, which I don't know at this juncture how successful it is, but like anything, it takes a while for things to catch on, and so that's Friday and Saturdays during the summer, but not 4th of July or Labor Day because those are holidays and drivers, unions, stuff. So, but that's coming from the train station, downtown, Tannery, out to Plum Island for $1.
Okay, so people who are going to use that are people who are coming into the city, or it could be me parking over there at the. Okay, where would I park if I were going to take the transportation to?
You could park on Federal Street and wave it down and head out to Plum Island. You could park at the airport and wave it down and we'll pick you up. So it's, you don't have to, it's not designated stops, which is great. So I'm hoping that we can tie that into, this facility too.
And you just
once
literally
it's built.
can, hey.
Hey. Yeah.
I'm going to try this.
Well, you should.
There's Sarah on what is it called? It's the weekend shuttle?
The summer shuttle.
Summer shuttle, okay. All right.
So, no, I really want this to work because I think it's a really terrific resource for our community and for kids, who want to get out to Plum Island, for the day.
Yeah.
You could buy a day pass for $3 and just hop on and off. But hopefully we'll be able to expand it somewhat.
Maybe we can do it. Close your ears, Andrew, because I know he doesn't like me when I volunteer us to do things without him asking first. Like just a little, 30-second, but little pieces of how it works, maybe with trying it or, just from the thought, I want to go to Plum Island, something that we can put in the
Sarah
can.
to the beach.
Has to be the beach. Okay, I'll go to the beach. I like the beach.
But so, again, using this facility as a place for buses and, depending on how things work, maybe it would be a spot where a tour bus could stay.
Yep.
For people who want to come. I mean, there's so much to work out with it.
Yep.
But, as I said to the council last night during the city council meeting, is that it will be a very public process. I mean, there wasn't a lot to talk about because, again, you have to have the funding and then you have to, then we'll start working on design and we'll do concepts and put it out there. What do you think? And then we have to crunch all the numbers.
It's a process.
It is a process.
So speaking of crunching numbers, how did the budget, end up? I know it passed. Were people pleased?
$59 million. I mean, I think that the city council cut about $65,000 from the city budget, and we were able to shift that over to schools, which is, one thing that, I've always worked, on with the city council if they want to change things, because by ordinance they can technically only cut, they can't put back. But, if we can
No,
work
I see.
on what those putbacks are, before the final budget review, then we can work through all that. So they called a special meeting and, went through the budget, which was good because they had a very, very busy and intensive agenda for the last meeting of the month. So anyway, but I think overall the departments are happy. We've been able to, we have to cut staff. We were able to add a couple positions which we needed, desperately needed another one for DPS highway. We really needed another foreman there, so which was good, and we had to increase custodial services for the new senior community center.
Right.
You don't, it's one thing that I've always said. I'm not, we can't build new things, fix things up and not find a way to make sure that we take care of what we fix, because just about everything I touched was broken when I became here. So we've been working hard at trying to, take care of, major capital projects, but also make sure that we build in appropriate maintenance. It's important.
Well, I know that it, I don't know where it falls under, but the high school's field's going to get done, isn't it? Going to be done this
as
summer?
we speak, they're taking down the stands.
Oh, hey, Andrew, listen up. We got to get up there and get some pictures.
You do. You do.
It's going to be like...
Yeah, I guess they started the destruction today, I guess.
Where is the time going?
I know.
Lordy. Okay.
October 2nd will be the ribbon cutting.
Okay.
So
that was the
happen.
second. I know when you said you can't miss the second, I was like, well, okay, what second is she talking about?
Yeah.
All right. That's
It's just going to be wonderful. Jim Stalin is just an amazing man, and it's just such a great tribute to his work as a coach, as a teacher, as a mentor, and just a true friend to...
Maybe we can do little something before, too. Okay.
Yeah, a true friend to so many youth who grew up in this community, and some who were, having trouble, and he was there for him, and he, I guess to this day, still has contact with a lot of the students he taught and coached. So it made sense that the field be called the Jim Stalin World War Memorial Field, and I have to give credit to Mike Jones, because the Institution for Savings came up with $500,000 for the, a good chunk of the turf.
Right.
And when alumni who were coached by Jim went to Mike Jones and told his story, his legacy, because they wanted the field, because it really should have been the institution, right, for savings. And Mike said, no. He immediately said, no, we have little logos on the turf and we're fine. I mean, it was just, such grace, such charm. And it was just win-win for everybody.
That's wonderful. I think there's a lot of really positive things that, do happen in Newburyport. We don't always hear about them.
Right.
I don't know why. Too busy. They're not talked about. I read the paper when I can. Sometimes I buy it. Sometimes I read it online. I should pay attention more because I do seem to miss some things. But it is hard to keep up with everything. But it is heartwarming to hear of such nice things. How about the? I know the last time you had mentioned the triple rating bond bill. Now, how does that? I had been wondering myself. Do people buy those bonds?
No.
So are they part of like a mutual fund?
No, they're municipal bonds, and so
who buys them?
Eastern Bank.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah. So so these.
Just a little lesson in finances.
Right. So it's very rare for a city to achieve a AAA bond rating. I think there's only 38 in the Commonwealth, in communities in total. Towns tend to have a easier time getting a AAA bond rating than cities. And Boston and Newton.
I had been looking because I was trying to study up on bonds and things like that, just trying to educate myself.
And what happens is it demonstrates to the person who's buying those bonds that there's great trust, and that there's no issue with the solvency or the strength of the financial status of that particular municipality, and so consequently you end up with much lower interest rates, which that's how we do capital projects, is we bond them. And that's, you start out with bands, which are short-term notes, and then ultimately they're rolled into these long-term 20-year municipal, usually 20-year borrowing, and for projects. We've been very fortunate because we have, again, the strong AAA bond rating, but we also don't have a lot of debt. So we've been able to borrow, like when the field project came in, a little over $1 million short, we went to the council and said, can you approve bonding for this so that we can move forward on this? So, and we have the capacity to do so, which is great. So that we started out with the 2 school projects, and they both came in significantly under budget, and now everything's coming in over budget. It's interesting as all the construction picks up, and it's just it's a different field than what it was 3-4 years ago when you put things out to bid. So
it's great to hear we don't have a lot of debt in the city.
Well, I mean, we have debt, but it certainly is something that we are affording, and it's somewhere around 8%, 7 to 8% of our total operating budget, and that's about where you want to be. You can go up to like 10, but you want to stay, at around that ratio. So we're doing well.
That sounds good. Is that one of the best practices that municipalities can choose, is that kind of thing? I mean, because you said it's not, my brain just left of what the best practices you're choosing.
Well, there was a financial area, so that clearly, if it's say under finance, there were a drop-down list of many things you could pick.
I mean, because it sounds like you would not to say how wonderful you are, but you must have something to offer if we're able to get the AAA rating when you went to do those focus groups, for example.
Well, I think, yes, and I can share, because I think one of the things that was really important to me as mayor and worked towards over the last 5 years is to build a very strong finance team. And we have done that. And when we were being reviewed by Standard & Poor, one of the things they said was that cities don't have this level and depth of financial policies, but they were really important to us.
Right.
And to be able to have a budget that has been awarded a distinguished budget award by the Government Finance Officers Association, which is a highly prestigious organization in North America that doesn't give out these awards too easily, and so we are very happy we're in our 3rd year of receiving this.
Gosh, that hard work has paid off.
Right,
Yep.
in a lot of ways. But again, it's all part of the strength of the teams that you work with. Everyone brings something to the table, and it's just been wonderful to see, the different management teams that we have been doing great work.
Excellent. Well, you wouldn't believe the 30 minutes has gone by.
Already?
Yes. So I'd like to thank you again for coming and taking the time. I think it's great to get this information out to the community. It helps educate people about what's going on. So thank you.
You're very welcome. I'll see you in a few weeks.
Yes. Thank you for watching Conversations with the Mayor.